Man, how good is it right now, dude? How good is it to be a fan of this magnificent series right now, dude? Banger new opening. That's absolutely incredible. Straight Gintama vibes, man. I mean, what a great opening. It represents so much about what makes that entire section of Egghead so special, dude. And then an ending that's extremely both filled with vibes and super sad as well. We got the live action season 2 trailer that looks so good, man. And then on top of all of that, we have the manga that's just been unbelievable, dude. We're on a stretch of chapters right now that I'm enjoying as much as I have all of my favorite stretches of chapters in the series. You know, anytime we get a flashback in this, especially lately, I think thinking back to like the Odin flashback, even before that, the Law and Corazon flashback. Then we had like the Big Mom flashback back in Whole Cake, the Odin flashback, and then the Kuma flashback. Those were all really good in their own unique ways. But this one reminds me a lot of how I was feeling during the Odin flashback. A lot of, I can't believe what I'm actually experiencing right now, you know, combined with the emotional resonance of the Kuma flashback. So it's just been a ton of fun throughout this entire section of the story, bro. It's like every single chapter provides something new and interesting, not just to think about, but also to discuss. And they're just genuinely fun to read chapters. Before we got into the flashback, the one thing that really caught me off guard in regards to Elbaf is that every chapter felt so focused. You know, coming off of a Wano and Egghead, which are two arcs that I absolutely love. Y'all know how much I love Wano. And Egghead is right there with it as well. So, like, I really love those two arcs. But in a lot of chapters, focus went all over the place. As it needed to be, right? Because there was a lot of chaos happening. But what differentiated Elbaf immediately from the very beginning of the arc was how focused each chapter felt. When you were focusing or like honing in on something, you were there for the entire chapter. And so it automatically gave it a fresh type of feeling of, oh, we're not cutting away to something else. We're actually sticking to this, right? And it's been a while since we've had an arc that just stays on either one or two things in a single chapter, and that's it. And it's been so focused, and especially thematically, that we've been honing in on many different things throughout multiple different perspectives. And so, you know, obviously we had the incredible Loki stuff at the beginning, Shamrock showing up. The just adventuring in Elbaf has been a ton of fun. The mural, which is an all-time favorite chapter of mine. Then, of course, when the Holy Knights came in and completely changed the game, we got some really beautiful moments out of that. But from the moment that Emu showed up in chapter 1149 until now, it's been an unbelievable stretch of chapters. Every single chapter leaves me like, did I really just read that type of vibe, right? I mean, from Emu showing up to when we got that awesome Luffy and Loki chapter with the rest of them that were down there like, oh man, it's about to go down, and the flashback starts. And literally from the very beginning of the Loki flashback, it's been just nonstop. I can't believe I'm experiencing this. I can't believe I'm experiencing this. Then Rock shows up and you're like, I can't believe I'm experiencing this, man. This is crazy. And what's been so fun about the last 4 chapters in particular is that we've had chapters that are focused on Herald, that then go into the Rock stuff, and then Rock's and Herald. So it's like we're getting the best of a king that we've heard so much about through the course of Elbaf that I couldn't wait to see more of. Seeing how this character was that impacted so much of what Elbaf would come to be. And of course a Rox who has his fingerprints all over the narrative in every single facet we could possibly imagine, especially with context now, right? So all of that was so unbelievably, I can't believe what I'm experiencing. Especially 1155. 1155 was nuts. 1155 with Rox pulling up on Emu, still the coldest panel in recent memory of like, yo, somebody pulling up on Emu, and this is the way he's just sitting there nonchalantly, gun in his hand. After he just bodied an admiral, he's chilling in front of Emu. It's like, yo, this is peak. This is peak. You know, it's been so good. So, when you come off of that and you get the Conqueror's Clash with Harold, and it's just it was so much fun, dude. But what's followed that up has been the most shocking turn of events for me in recent memory in regards to the tone that I was not expecting. When this flashback started, it was extremely tragic right off the bat, right? With the Loki stuff. I mean, I was really feeling it, man. Extremely emotional. And I really wanted to throw hands with some people in this flashback because of the circumstances surrounding, Loki's birth and things like that, right? Almost turned me to Yusuke Urameshi there for a second. And I'm sure I'm not alone there, but it's just the way the flashback started is, I mean, literally from even before the Loki birth stuff, when you get the hints of what's to come from the flashback, when you see a potential Domi reversing Herald or the other Guardians that are around him and see what Loki runs into, which is the end of Herald and the end of his life, it was like, man, where is this all going to, how is this flashback going to play out that's going to lead into such a tragic ending? And so as it's progressed, it's continued. It carried a somber type of feel. Then it went into hype, right, with like the rock stuff and like, oh, this is extremely exciting stuff, while still carrying a little bit of that tone. But what's been so interesting in the last 2 chapters in particular is how we've taken the flashback that has established all of that and turned it into shoujo slice of life One Piece, and it's just, I love it. Bro, I have been the biggest advocate for the Hungry Days spin-off that should come at the end of the series. If you haven't watched the Hungry Days commercials, those are the slice of life high school spin-offs, that little 30-second commercials that they did for the cup noodles that was all One Piece based. And it's some of my favorite stuff this series has ever produced. I don't care, canon or not. I love those Hungry Days commercials because they represent what we could do with this series after it's over, which is retell it through the lens of a slice of life anime. Like, personally, even though I can't wait for the Wit remake that's incoming, and I know they're gonna go in, and I'm super excited for it, if you were to ask me, I would have wanted a Hungry Days remake type of thing instead of, like I said, I can't wait for that Wit remake. I'm so excited for that. But if I could have only had one, I would have had the Slice of Life remake, because I've always believed that One Piece could really be a fantastic slice of life high school anime that hones in on many of the things that make those series special. And so that brings me to these last 2 chapters, bro. These last 2 chapters have been an absolute blast, because normally whenever we get into flashback mode and flashback season, especially whenever we go into Roger content, Whitebeard content, those legendary figures that have been with us for a very long time, most of the time whenever you see them, it's a combination of like hype and emotional, right? Like, especially when I think back to like the Odin flashback with the Whitebeard stuff and the Roger stuff. For the Whitebeard stuff, it was so beautiful to see the beginnings of that journey, right? And the Roger stuff, it's like, I can't believe I'm actually experiencing Roger's journey. I mean, it was really emotional stuff. And of course, you have the Roger and Whitebeard clash, which was one of the most hype moments in the series. But what we never got out of one of those flashbacks is seeing the other side of the day-to-day lives of these characters. And I think that's what's made the last 2 chapters so special. It's made it feel like if you're reading a novel and you slip away from the main points of view to a random individual who's telling you a story that's taken place about these legendary figures in their day-to-day lives. And it has been so much fun, man. Like, so much fun. Just 2 chapters into this entire romance piece that we're going, some would call Goon Piece, I'll call romance piece. Some of my favorite stuff has been the comedic aspect of how hilarious this stuff has been. I mean, Oda's on top of it when it comes to comedy, man. He's on top of it, dude. But it's so cool to me how 2 chapters are able to recontextualize how I feel about multiple different characters. And in particular, I feel like I'm never going to be able to see Sabaody, Amazon Lily, and Return to Sabaody the same ever again. Because, bro, the Shaki stuff has elevated that character to, like, true legendary status. And it's not just Shaki. Like, I feel the same way about Gloriosa, man. Another character that, how many times I've gone through Amazon Lily for the Paramount War saga rewatches and rereads. Never going to be able to see that arc the same again, especially whenever she's talking about certain things to Hancock. So that stuff, the recontextualization of these characters, it's always what makes these flashbacks so much fun and special. That's part of the reason why chapter 1102 from the Kuma flashback, the end of that flashback, is one of my favorite chapters in the series, is because of how it recontextualizes everything from an emotional standpoint. But now we're recontextualizing things from a hype and hilarious standpoint with the last two chapters. And it's just, as a massive fan of those types of series, right? Like, I'm talking your Toradoras or things of that nature, right? The 12 episode rom-coms or whatever the case may be. I always think back to like the really funny ones, like School Rumble back in the day. I remember School Rumble, man. Shout out to School Rumble. Hilarious show. Sunrise classic. But even like to the recent ones, like your Married Couple Not Lovers or Dress Up Darling, whatever the case may be. To get those types of chapters in One Piece is so cool, because what we have is, it's like a fever dream scenario. We have Roger and Whitebeard and Rox and all of them in a flippin' romance anime, and I can't get enough of it. I really can't. I wish we would spend the next couple of chapters on all of this. It's okay. I really thought we were only going to spend one chapter on it. Only one chapter. So we got the second chapter that was, at the beginning it was focused on like the 1157, focused on like the rocks part of it, and the adventure of the crew, and then the Herald stuff. But when we get in that second half, man, it was like, oh, we're doing this 2 weeks in a row. Let's go! And I love it so much, man, because not only is it hilarious, but it's genuinely just a blast to read through. It's a blast, man, to see how all of these characters actually were back in the day, man. Not just the way the legend spoke of them, no, the way they actually acted on a day-to-day. And it's just, there's so many already memorable moments that are already rent-free that I know I'm going to keep with me for the rest of my time as a One Piece fan, just in this section of the story. And it's just been a blast, man. I can't wait, especially with the ending of chapter 1157. I'm really excited for where we're headed for the rest of this flashback, where we're headed in regards to the God Valley content, as we were talking about last night, and what the potential scenario is going to be there with, was Herald there, were there any Domi reverses, as we've been speculating on, in regards to either Rox or Herald there within the God Valley incident. The God Valley incident being surrounded around the crown jewel of Hachinosu, which now we know is Shaki, right? So that's going to change the entire perspective of God Valley. It makes it, number one, it makes it absolutely hilarious. But number two, it adds a different type of weight, because we're looking at it from right now through the lens of, this being something really funny, right? Adding a classic Oda joke layer to the something that's a legendary event in the God Valley incident, right? But especially after the end of the chapter, when they talked about, a treasure's meant to be stolen, I haven't been able to stop thinking about the emotional weight behind what we're going to get from the God Valley stuff in regards to Shaki as a character. And I think there's a lot there that we could play off of. A character that had to leave her position as captain of the Kuja Pirates due to feeling something on the horizon, and or maybe somebody's reached out to this character and she felt like she needed to attempt to play like a triple agent type of deal, where she goes with the Rox pirates over here on Hachinosu, and an attempt to, because it feels like there's something crazy on the horizon with Shaki in particular, because we've been focusing so much on this character that it's gonna lead to some absolute greatness, and I just can't put my finger on it. I don't know if it's like a spy deal where she's spying on the Rox pirates, but I don't see Shaki as that type of individual to spy. Like, it feels like she's spying for the case of just trying to get somebody off of her back, and which is why, if that is the case, when whatever happens in that treasure gets stolen and Shaki either goes off on her own, or Robin or Nami style, right, where she goes like, in order to protect those that she cares about, she goes off and heads to God Valley, maybe take care of business on her own. That's how stuff gets crazy there with the Shaki stuff, and then of course that's what leads Roger to come in and Garp and Rox and everyone. Somebody last night pointed out the Ennie's Lobby parallels for Rox coming in to save Shaki, which would be unbelievably peak if that ends up being the case. But even without all of those potential scenarios of like what's actually going down with Shaki, I'm incredibly fascinated with what the payoff for this is gonna be. Because the more I go back and I reread these 2 chapters, the more this is Ichiro Oda we're talking about. Anytime we lead off with a joke or something that's meant to be hilarious, it's going to have some sort of emotional payoff down the line. And so that's what I'm so excited to see right now. Is on top of all the fun that we've been having reading these chapters, is what the payoff is going to be once we get to God Valley. And if Shaki was truly the centerpiece of God Valley and everything that happened there, then that has major implications for extremely emotional payoff for not just her character, but for other characters that are there as well. And it adds new weight to every other thing that we've ever had that's led back to the God Valley stuff. So I'm expecting some continuations on some really funny and amazing interactions with this whole Shaki plotline. But I'm invested in how that's going to lead into the way that she lives her life from that point onward, because we know how she is in the current time. Cheering on someone like a Luffy, right? Knowing what Luffy did for someone like Robin, knowing what Luffy's done in regards to this entire adventure up until this point, and now the connection with Rayleigh and stuff like that, right? And so I want to know the bridge there between the Shaki that we saw at the end of this chapter and then there. So there's a lot to think of in regards to this character. I'm so excited for the future of this flashback. There's a lot of potential for even more greatness than I initially anticipated, coming into a potential God Valley flashback. Because in the God Valley section, of course, I was looking forward to just hype. Like, oh man, I can't wait to see Roger and Rox and Garp and them and everybody, Garling and everybody in the same place. Seeing what Rox found out and the taboos and if Emu got involved and all that. But now there's an emotional payoff aspect that I'm looking forward to as well, for the Loki Rock stuff, for the Shaki stuff, as well as the Shanks and Garling stuff. And so there's an emotional aspect of this flashback that I was not thinking of before that now I most certainly have in mind, heading into whatever God Valley content we're about to get. But just so many great interactions, man. I've been really loving these chapters. It's been an absolute blast to read this series. And I'm the type of person that I enjoy every single One Piece chapter because it is One Piece, right? No matter what we get within a week's thing, it's going to be one of my highlights just because of how much I love this world, these characters, and the story. But these last few chapters in particular have just been a ton of fun, man. It really is one of those special stretches for me. And it looks like it's going to keep on going. And so let me know what y'all feel about these last few chapters. The interactions, man. Yeah, I keep thinking back to like the last chapter with like the Stussy and Wyvern interaction is hilarious. Girl Gloriosa and Big Mom's interaction. Shout out to Katakuri in this chapter too, bro. Shout out to my boy Alvin and Daifuku as well, man. It's just it's been a ton of fun, dude. I've been loving this. Flashbacks, like I said in this series, are always special, but this one has an entirely it has a huge weight on it because we're weighing in, similar to the Odin flashback, importance in the short term for the Elbaf stuff and the Loki content, the Herald content, the Elbaf content. But in the grand scheme of the narrative, we really are touching a lot of bases here, and it's incredible stuff, man. It gets me even more excited for when we eventually get to the Void Century stuff, because if he's cooking this hard for this, imagine how it's going to be for that, right? So it's just been a ton of fun, man. Shout out to Shaki, bro. What a fun addition to what has been this flashback with the Shaki and Gloriosa edition, the Kuja Pirates, coming into this flashback. It's added a new layer of a ton of fun every week, and I'm just enjoying it so much, man. Shout out to the legends in this series, bro, for still being legends. Roger and Whitebeard and Kaido and Big Bomb and Rox, and I'm just I can't get enough of it. I'm so excited to see what happens next. But I'll see y'all next time. Thanks so much for watching, man. It's been rent-free. I'm recording this right before I play some Xenoblade. And y'all know I haven't been recording any type of content. But that's how you know One Piece has been so good that I just had to come on here and talk about it before we hop into some Xenoblade. So y'all have a good one. Take care. Loving where we're at right now, man.